In the spirit of reconciliation, Indigenous land acknowledgements have become common in Canada.
Canada has historically positioned itself as one of the freest countries in the entire world, one of the most tolerant and progressive, open and inclusive, and transparent democracies that the world has ever seen.
Canada is one of the places in the world where we do diversity as well, if not better, than most other places. We know that tolerance is not enough.
If that's true, why is it that we're halfway through 2024 and Canadians still don't have access to the news on social media?
Meta says it will block news content for its Canadian users on both social media platforms after Parliament passed Ottawa's new online journalism law.
If Canada really is this altruistic, compassionate nation that it positions itself to be, why is it that more people have died from medically assisted suicide than from the pandemic?
Imagine choosing death over homelessness. That's what one St. Catharines man is contemplating. Tonight on City News, we continue to delve into medically assisted dying and how some believe it is their only option to living in poverty.
Are you afraid to die?
Who isn't? Yeah,
If Canada really is prosperous and thriving, why is it nearly impossible for the average person to buy a house in this country?
This is a house in Toronto. It has 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. It was listed for sale last summer for just shy of $1 million. If that seems like a lot, you should know that it sold for $800,000 more than that.
Wilmot's Mayor Natasha Salonen takes a walk through her neighborhood.
That's a lovely color on you. Thank you very much. I do live at home with my parents.
Despite earning around $90,000 a year, she can't afford a home in the municipality she leads.
69% of Canadian renters do not plan on buying a home.
If the government really is taking steps to make things more affordable, why is it that rent has nearly doubled in the last 10 years?
The average rent in our country hitting an all-time high in the month of May, topping $2,200 a month for the first time ever. A new report from rentals.ca and Urban Nation found the average monthly asking price for rent increased by 9.3% on a year-over-year basis last month, reaching $2,202.
If inflation and affordability are really getting under control, why is it that we're seeing food banks going belly up?
Food Banks Canada found nearly half of those surveyed feel worse off than last year. It also looked over the latest StatsCan data from 2022 and found that 7 out of 10 provinces failed in terms of their food security and poverty approaches, while 3 provinces either worsened or remained stagnant from last year. On a national level, they graded Canada an F for its food security status.
Some new numbers on poverty in Canada come with a stark warning. If more isn't done, the food bank system nationwide could collapse.
The report also found more young people are turning to food banks. Between February and April of this year, a quarter of those aged 18 to 24 went to a charity because they didn't have enough money to buy food.
If Canada really is a nation that cares about the truth, why is it that the average Canadian still believes that hundreds, if not thousands, of Indigenous children were found buried beneath Catholic schools across the country, even though that's been proven at this point to be an absolutely fabricated, disgusting lie?
But all of a sudden, Canada looks a lot like the Soviet Union. Seem like we're exaggerating a little bit? Well, they're burning Catholic and Anglican churches in recent days. Leftist groups are. But Canada's leaders aren't condemning the burning of churches. No, they're endorsing the burning of churches. The head of the British Columbia Civil Liberties Association, a monster called Harsha Walia, tweeted this, quote, "Burn it all down."
If Canadian politicians really do serve the interests of the Canadian people, why are many of them taking money from foreign entities?
Our democracy is at stake here. So why are you continuing to prop up the government who you say isn't taking democracy seriously? Why do you continue to prop them up?
So the question is, what are we going to do about it?
No,
the question
is,
to me,
why do you continue to prop up the government when you say our democracy is at stake and this government is not taking our democracy seriously? Why continue to back them up?
Democracy thrives in sunlight, and you've talked about the attacks on democracy. And it's already been talked about that Canadians have lost confidence in our electoral system and our institutions, in part because of this foreign interference debate. Are you not concerned that by not releasing the names of the MPs who are involved and accused of what this committee is accusing them of, that you are further undermining confidence in the system, and why are we affording them that protection?
So Let me just start by saying I don't think Canadians have lost confidence in our democracy.
And if the RCMP really is here to serve and protect us, why don't they want the public to know about it? And speaking of the RCMP, if they really do care about your best interests, why do they try to keep this private?
A secret report has been sent to the Trudeau government by the RCMP, that's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The report basically says that once the people of Canada realize how broke they are, they will start protesting. And this will not be a silent protest. The Canadian Police is referring to a civil unrest, the kind that's capable of changing the status quo or a government. That's the kind of desperate future that Canada is staring at.
If Canadians really are patriotic people, why do most of us care more about hockey, our national sport, than our national debt?
Canadians are living on the most borrowed money than people in all other G7 nations.
Canadian households owe more in debt than the value of Canada's entire economy.
If Canadians really are informed, why do we know more about fiat cars than fiat currency? If Canadians really are critical thinkers, why do more of us turn out to get a vaccine than to vote? Maybe it's a bit of a frog boiling in the water mentality that we carry as Canadians.
But now, because we're raising the temperature slowly, he doesn't recognize the danger he's in. He just keeps going along with the changes in his surroundings. By the time he realizes it's killing him, it's too late. He won't notice in time because he just keeps changing himself to go along with the changes in his surroundings.
We've had it so good for so long, and we look at what's happening over there on the other side of the world and we think, that could never happen here. We think that just because we were born here at this time during human history and things are pretty good, things are always going to be pretty good. Canada's always going to be a country, right? Right? I, for one, am tired of getting my information from people that hate me. From oligarchs that tell me how to think, how to pray, how to eat. I, for one, don't trust mainstream media. If I'm getting information, I want to know who's paying for it before I digest it. Last year, after Bill C-11 came into effect, I decided I needed to do something about it. I was tired of seeing my friends and family getting manipulated by the powers that be, just going through life, trusting everything they heard because they're good people trying to do the right thing. You know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to do the right thing, but the issue is, unless you think critically about what the right thing is and you stand in your convictions and your laurels, someone else is going to tell you what the right thing is. There's so much fake news out there, so much bought and paid for media out there that literally just exists to manipulate into thinking a certain way or to buying something.
Now, you sometimes hear about liberal bias in the media these days, how they're constantly letting our government off the hook for no good reason. Frankly, I think that's insulting. It's clear that they let us off the hook for a very good reason, because we paid them $600 million.
I'm a Canadian. You know, I look at what's happened in this country in the last 9 years under Justin Trudeau, and I don't even recognize it anymore. People can't afford to live. Everyone's polarized. People are persecuted for their beliefs. You can't even express an opinion without somebody screaming down your throat, and the government is currently trying to make certain opinions illegal. That should be wildly concerning to everybody. I look at this clown show of a government between Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh, and I look at the amount of people that actually turned out to vote. And the reality is, we got what we deserved as a government. Canadians are largely apathetic towards politics and largely misinformed. We know more about American mainstream news, entertainment, culture, propaganda news stories than we know about what's actually happening in our backyard.
What are you talking about?
For me, that's not good enough. When Bill C-11 came into fruition in Canada, I knew I had to do something about it. I decided from that point forward, regardless of the consequences, I was going to start posting news stories on my Instagram every day just so that I could hopefully inform the people that are in my community. Now, Meta is also a very politicized and censorious platform, and they don't hide their biases.
How do you guys handle things when they're a big news item that's controversial? Like, there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York Post.
Yeah, we have that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
The distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely...
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful.
So I figured it was just a matter of time before my account got nuked, right? Strike after strike, shadow ban after shadow ban, and my page still exists, but probably not for long. I've received so many messages from friends and family and a lot of people that I've never met before saying that I've somehow become their trusted news source, which honestly to me is a huge compliment, but it's also a little bit concerning. I realize life is difficult. There's a million things that want your attention, and not everybody has the time to pay attention to what's happening globally in the news. But the problem is, unless you stay informed, your decisions will be informed by what other people want you to think. And we saw that play out in real time during the pandemic.
You deserve a government that's going to continue to say, get vaccinated. And you know what? If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
Human beings do well when they have carrot and stick. So a mandate helps people to realize it's time. FDA final approval on Pfizer said it's time.
At this point in the game, I guess you could say I'm a citizen journalist. I don't have any formal training as a writer, as an investigative journalist, as a pundit. Honestly, I'm just somebody who cares about the truth, and I hate seeing people get ripped off. So that's my promise to you. I will always pursue the truth. And if I make a mistake, I will correct it. I am not here to tell you what to think. This channel and community exists so that we can unpack the news together. Stories that are interesting, stories that are compelling, stories that affect you. And of course I'll give you my spin and my opinion, but I will never present my opinion as fact. My opinion is my opinion, and we're all entitled to opinions. If you've been following this journey for the last year or so, I think it's safe to say that my track record speaks for itself. I'm not afraid to speak truth to power.
Do you think that it's insensitive to call a snap election when there are Canadian armed forces dying in Afghanistan, stuck in Kabul, sir? Do you think it is insensitive? Piece of goddamn
I'm not afraid to follow the truth wherever it's going to lead me, and I just want to invite you on that journey. There is a massive election coming up in the United States in 2024, and then another massive election coming up in Canada in 2025. These two events have the potential to drastically reshape the landscape of our political structure in North America. I imagine over the next couple years, censorship's just going to ramp up. Channels like mine and voices like mine are going to become harder and harder to find. So if that day comes that they silence me and I'm no longer able to share my voice freely on the internet, I hope by that time you've developed a desire to know the truth and to be informed. And if that's the case, I've done my job. I invite you to take this journey with me so that we can unpack together the truth from the propaganda and find some footing during these strange times. Thanks for watching.